Oh, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It is your boy, Targeted Individual CJBK. Um, it is probably about 12:15 p.m. Wednesday, January 10th. I am in the Bronx right now. It's my day off. Um, it's funny because some people would be like, why do you give so much detail about, you're showing people where you're at, you're telling people where you are. Well, the thing is, here's the reason why I do what I do. I say these things and I record my locations and everything. Why? Because think about it like this. If the majority of what they do is to basically character assassinate and to basically try to make you seem like you're crazy to everyone. Should any harm come to me, it would kind of almost not make sense because why would anyone want to cause harm to someone that everybody think is crazy? Don't most people just avoid crazy people? So, should any harm come to me that's not necessarily covertly done, using the radio frequencies or rather electromagnetic waves, rather electromagnetic waves, and for that part, it's like, well, maybe there was some truth to what he was saying because who would actually harm someone who's crazy if they're not actually doing anything to anyone? All they're doing is talking crazy, right? And that's reality though. No one really causes harm to someone just talking crazy. I don't sound irate in none of my videos. I don't sound angry in none of my videos. I sound frustrated, but I don't sound angry. I don't sound hostile, you know. So, but that's just one thing, right? So, I hope some of you actually caught some of my regular text posts, my last text post where I have found out that there is a term, there's an actual term for all the people who are basically accepting of the beast technology and the beast imprint in their bodies. And I'm gonna try to like do it, in a short, snippet type of way. We oftentimes like to think of ourselves as targeted individuals, which we are being targeted and we are being targeted individually, right? Um, there's a full on right now that it's labeled as a hypothesis and what is it? A hypothesis and theory peer reviewed article when it comes to human brain cloud interface, right? There are two terms for when it comes to let's say there are two terms that they use. We call ourselves targeted individuals. On in their eyes, to some spectrum, or depending on what side of the pole you're on, they would actually refer to us as shadows. And it's interesting. I'm like shadows. That's such a weird term to use for a person who supposedly uploads their brain to the cloud and then they allow other people access to, their brain, their memories, and their sensations and things of that sort. They call it shadows, right? Now, for everyone else who are basically tuning in or tapping in to our nervous system and our experiences, those who are basically viewers or participants, they are called shadowers. Shadowers, right? And this article this study, well, yeah, it's an article. This article, it goes into detail about how, a shadower can choose from numerous, a number of different options, from just being a observational, just strictly observation, no V2K, no, no other engagements. They're just looking. That's like probably like the bare minimum, right? When they tap into someone's node, and then they are basically seeing everything that they see through their visual cortex, and then whether they want to just dive into their memories or whatever, they would just be called observational shadowers. On the other side of the pole, I'm really starting to take in some of those hermetic terms now. On the other side of the pole, you have what do they call them? Active participants or something like that, where basically they not only are looking, but they can also talk to you. They can also engage in certain aspects of your life, or rather, they can, cause certain things to happen to the shadow, and the shadow would probably give feedback to the shadowers about what they're experiencing. Now, and the whole article, it's not mentioning anything about the technology possibly being used in a weaponized form. It's always going to be published in a sense where it's all about, like, oh, it's for people with disabilities. Oh, it's for, it's going to be used to help people advance their cognitive functions. It's going to help people with their health statuses, things of that sort. It's going to help people, become smarter, because they will no longer have to read stuff. All they have to do is just think, because they're connected to the internet, and boom, stuff is just going to be downloaded into their brain. Am I the only one that find that horrible? Like, just imagine someone let's say a doctor who spent the time and effort to actually become a studious person, a studious, studious person who really took the time to develop themselves mentally, spiritually, and physically to become a doctor. They spent the years necessary to become a doctor. And then here comes somebody who probably just didn't have much going on in their life. They were just like Joe Schmo. Then all of a sudden, somebody come out of nowhere and just like, hey, would you like to become a doctor? I have a way to make you become a doctor in less than, I don't know how long, but I'm assuming it's less than 24 hours, because if your brain's connected to the internet, they basically just download everything you need to know right into the brain. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, yo, that's wild. So you're telling me so many people will have spent so many years actually really learning a craft, and then all of a sudden, just like in The Matrix, like the movie The Matrix, all someone gotta do is just have the information downloaded into their brain, and poof, that's it. They just become a doctor, and that's it. And it's interesting because the more I think about it, the shadowers, I still like to call them operators, but the shadowers, they had the intentions, well, their first intention was to try to see if they can scare me by saying that they would shoot me in my sleep. And when I realized that, these transmitted voices were not coming from a physical body in my proximity, but they were basically transmitted radio waves, or transmitted radio waves that were being picked up by my brain, I'm loosely going to say they were picked up by the nano robots that are already flowing or already attached to neurons in my brain. And then they converted these radio frequencies, these radio waves into electrical signals, and then now all of a sudden it's like resonating with the body. Then you start to hear these things. But I'm thinking to myself, so they're like, oh, we're gonna shoot you in your sleep, and then because I because I was not accepting of that, and I was look, I'm gonna tell you, like, I was willing to lose it all. I was really willing to risk it all. I went outside looking for whoever was saying these things, but I didn't see anybody outside, so I came back home. This is like, I'm talking September of 2020. I thought it was people outside my window, but even though I didn't see anybody, I was like, what was going on? And then um after, like I think the next day or the day after, when I decided I was going to go to the hospital, they was like, don't do it, Chris. You don't know what you're about to do, blah blah blah. Then I remember at one point after the hospital visit, they was like, now since you snitched on us, you're gonna have to become a cop, or you're gonna be a snitch to the whole city. So I'm like, become a cop, a snitch? What are you talking about? You in my brain, and I ain't even asked you to be there. So I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, yo, I'm actually having a conversation with somebody, but their voice sounds familiar. And I've told you guys several times before, this is the main guy that definitely did all this to me. He's living live and well right over there, probably in 1490 Boone Avenue. Um, and and his whole thing was like, oh, since you told the doctors about us, now you either gonna become a cop or a snitch. Now I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, they wanted me to become a cop so bad. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they always keep saying, oh, all you had to do was just become a police officer. That's all you had to do. But that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I wanted to do. I did not want to become a police officer. Why? Because that was not a part of what I wanted for my life. And I don't even think God wanted that a part of my life, because if that was supposed to be, then I would have became a police officer. I wouldn't have waited until my 30s to become a police officer. If I wanted to be a police officer, I probably would have became a police officer, much, much earlier. So then I wouldn't have to work as long and then end up, having to work hard, longer and harder, and then retire later. But anyway, so I started to have this idea cross my mind after I started to read a little bit more about this human brain cloud interface article, and I'm almost starting to believe that we're actually, especially the targeted justice, and I would love to like get in contact with more of their members. I know I've spoke to Goji. I've met Goji a few times. Never met Anna Toledo. I wish I have. And I never met Lynn Burr, Dr. Lynn Burr, but I would actually like to meet him one day, because I believe he's actually talking about some of the stuff that I believe I'm already aware of, but not many other targeted individuals are mentioning what I'm aware of. I actually believe that we're not on a targeted list. Like, the list that we're on is not necessarily, it's not a list that we can find probably in documents or anything like that, because I'm actually starting to believe what we're dealing with people who are basically operating within our dimension, our three-dimensional world, through the metaverse. And the metaverse is something completely different. See, we have laws, human rights, all these different things, but in this physical world, when it comes to the metaverse, I just thought about it. And my girl, she was like, you should do a video. That makes sense. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna talk about it. The metaverse is something completely different. Why? Because there are no rules there. There are no laws there. There is no such thing as human rights in the metaverse, because technically in the metaverse no one is actually human. You are all avatars or a digital twin of your physical self. And with all the different types of brain computer interfaces, brain to cloud interfaces, brain to brain interfaces, and brain to machine interfaces, and also throwing in augmented reality and virtual reality, it's it's a lot more. You need to use the bathroom?
No.
Oh, all right. I'll be back. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll be back. Boy. Yeah, they mess with the 7-year-old too. They are messing with his bodily functions too, and his cognitions, his cognitive functions, and it's sad. I could feel the thermomagnetic beam. I could feel the presence of the beam connecting to his prefrontal cortex. Like I told you, every single person is going to find that same. It's going to be in the same exact spot. I guarantee you, every single person has that locked onto that has that same spot. There is a resonance that is forced on every single person's prefrontal cortex. Why the prefrontal cortex? Because the prefrontal cortex controls, or actually it's like I would say like a gate to several different other cognitive functions and physiological and neurological functions to the rest of the body. Everything from memory, emotions, critical thinking, a number of different things. But what I'm really saying is, I think we might actually be thinking about it in the wrong way. And because I kept thinking to myself, it was someone else who actually brought it up. It was a video I watched online, and then someone was it was a video where someone had actually explained what they believe were the difference between being a targeted individual and then being someone on a terrorist watch list. One great example was in the sense of travel. If you were on a terrorist watch list, you technically wouldn't be able to travel. At least not through plane or possibly train, because a terrorist watch list, that's basically like public information. That's like out there, and then it's like the government letting you know. That's like the government letting you know that they're not letting you do everything that everybody else can do. That's the government openly letting you know. But when it comes to being a targeted individual, I realize it's different. The person said, you can travel. They'll let you travel, but they're just going to follow you everywhere you go. They will let you travel, but they're just going to follow and harass you everywhere you go. Why? Because you are an opportunity for so many people to possibly, I guess, make some money off of you, or because you're a walking experiment. Everyone is going to try to see if they can get some type of reaction or something out of you, but they don't necessarily want to openly deny you of things. They don't want to do it openly. They want to do it covertly. So in a sense where you feel like people are preventing you, but then they can still openly act like they're doing absolutely nothing to you. So, yeah, I realized that, and then they're always talking about, oh, there's so many people watching you right now. Everybody lost respect for you. The whole city losing respect for you. Don't nobody have respect for you. Da, da, da. First and foremost, how could I have respect for anyone who is a part of this, right? You're a part of it. You're watching people that you know are not a problem to anyone. You're watching people that you know, and you're probably watching with your own eyes. They're not doing anything wrong to you. Even with all, and then especially with some of the TIs who's been going through it for like, long periods of times, and they still haven't done anything violent. They still haven't done anything outrightly disrespectful to anyone. They're basically trying to influence or induce something into you that you wouldn't necessarily have done in the first place. And I just keep thinking to myself, do you know how I feel like, and I was just telling the boy this too. It was, we was in the kitchen cooking breakfast, right? And then I think he was over there like making a sandwich or whatever. And then I kind of peeked over at him. He was like, "Why are you watching me?" I was like, "I'm not watching you. I only glanced at you, but I don't need to watch you." He was like, "How come?" "Cause I could pretty much guess what you're gonna do, and you're not necessarily a threat to me, and I don't think I have anything to really worry about watching you." I was like, people only watch people. He was like, "But don't." What did he say? He said something like, he was no. I think he asked me if I could read his mind. I was like, "No, I can't read your mind at all. But I watch everyone. I watch everyone, but I'm not watching them all the time. I see him. I notice you just enough to be able to determine if you are a possible threat or not. And then what I kind of do, almost within the snap of about 3 fingers, I probably have ran through about 24 or several different scenarios of what you possibly could do in the next few seconds or maybe a few minutes. And for whatever reason, I would write you off and say, you're not that much of a problem. So I wouldn't necessarily watch you. People who have to watch and observe others all the time, that's fear. I mean, you could call it protecting yourself or surveilling for the protection of others. You could call it what you will. But yeah, I actually believe that that's fear, and I'm not walking around with fear like that in me. I have no need to want to control anyone or watch anyone. And what the scientists and doctors of these interfaces, sorry, with these interfaces, they're claiming that oh well, this technology is going to be to advance the human species, and it's going to like make everyone more intelligent and all these things. But here's the thing I realized. All the intelligence in the world, all the money in the world, none of that stuff will matter if the heart of the person ain't right. If the heart of the person ain't right, more times than likely, they're going to be prosperous in one aspect of life, but failing horribly in a whole nother aspect. And the funny thing about how God and the universe works, we're talking about, sorry, we're talking about waves and then particles, right? We're talking about people who are choosing to actually focus more of their energy on objects, materials, things that they necessarily can surround themselves with, but it doesn't actually feed them. None of them are fed. Right now, they have a frequency resonating with my left kidney, and they've been attacking my left kidney for hours now. They've been heating it up. The frequency right now, it's coming from, the beam is actually being formed from right up here. Like the top part of this phone is being formed from, like, matter of fact, it's being formed from this corner of the phone up here. So it would be like, if I'm looking at it, it's the top right corner of the phone. The beam is being formed from the top right corner of the phone, and then it just kind of like streams, is formed, and then it curves down, and then it's going right in here, and then going up, goes right through the skin, right through all the other tissues. It doesn't burn the skin, it just passes through, because they can choose how far, they can choose where the depth, or they can choose the depth of how far they want the frequency or the energy to go. And then the majority of the energy is going to be at the end point. The end point, that's where they have the majority of the energy going. So the end point right now, it's like, I can feel a pulse on my kidney. It's either my kidney, is that my kidney? Yeah, because it's like, let me see. Yeah, because it's kind of like going under the rib. Yeah. And there's a pulse there. You shouldn't have a pulse near your kidney. Your kidney isn't your heart. Your kidney does not have, right, I don't think you can feel a pulse you're not supposed to feel a pulse on your kidney. It's just like, right, it's just like this part of my jaw right here. You should not have a pulse above your jawbone and then inside the gum. You should not have a pulse here, but they do. And there's a lump. There's like a lump growing right here. And it's underneath this lung. You hear that? Now, I've been wanting to get that silver stuff removed out my mouth for a while, but I figured, I don't know, they found a way to, every time I tried to like do something important, like renew my health insurance, or sometimes when I have to pay a bill, they perform a denial of service attack on, the sites that I try to go on to pay my bills and whatnot. And then, they basically try to prevent me from doing so. So right now, I don't necessarily have the dental insurance to cover something like that. So right now, I may possibly have a small tumor right here along the jaw, but just under that, yeah. I'm not sure if it's a tumor or not, but anyway. And then, yeah, this beam here, it's pulsing, it's very hot. And let me see, it's like, yeah, that's I think that's basically the beat of the frequency that's going into my left kidney. And it almost feels like it's It feels like it wants to. It feels like it wants to blow up or something. That's how much energy they have going into it. And they're always talking about how like, oh, everybody is watching, your family is watching, people don't trust you no more. And I'm like, people don't trust me. So I'm wrong for trying to protect my livelihood, trying to protect myself. I'm wrong for trying to protect myself from someone who literally found a way to hack my soul. So I'm wrong. Well, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't say they hacked my soul, because it's my soul and my willpower that's actually helping me overcome some of these attacks. Because I realized, because we're also electromagnetic too, we can actually find ways to cause interference with the energies, with the electromagnetic waves that are coming into our bodies. I realized over time, so like you see me holding my hand like this, that's because in between my thumb and index finger, I am holding an electromagnetic wave that is basically carrying a lot of energy that's going into my kidney. Like I'm holding it, like I'm literally holding it between my thumb and the index finger. And every time I exhale like that, I feel heat basically kind of rise from here, and then it kind of goes up here, and then I exhale. Right now, the head feels okay, but they've been mostly attacking my left kidney a lot. And then what they want to really say is like, oh, what they'll do is say, okay, if you drink alcohol, right, and you're not a lush or anything like that, what they'll do is they'll attack your kidneys even more. They'll attack your kidneys even more and then say, he needs to stop drinking. But I don't think the audience, or rather the other shadowers, the ones who are just mostly observers, I don't think they understand that what they're doing is they're actually causing or inducing the energy imbalances in the cells and tissues of the body. They're causing these things, right? And they'll do it just seconds before they make a statement. You will always feel the energy interact with your body before they make a statement. Those of us who have V2K, you will always feel the energy interact with your body before they make the statement, because they have to paint a story. They have to get people to believe that you are not doing well. You are not sufficient enough to be in their society. You are not sufficient enough to be a part of the New World Order. They will do everything in their power. They will basically even things to as far as like thought patterns. They will transmit a particular thought into your mind. And what I mean by transmit a thought is, because just about almost every thought or every image that a person can have, it's already saved in a database. So the database has all these different thoughts and stuff saved from various people all over the world. And it's already coded. It's already coded. All they have to do is transmit that code converted into radio frequency into your mind. Your brain is just, because most of us are not always present and being a gatekeeper to what thoughts enter our mind. Your brain is going to receive that signal, those radio waves or those electromagnetic waves. Then your brain is going to decode those waves into electrical impulses. And then you may actually have that thought pop up in your mind as a full-blown image. And then they'll say, look, see, we told you he's, let's say he's abusive to animals. We told you he's abusive to animals. But they always send the signals first before they make the statements. They don't make the statements before they send the signals, because why? They have shadowers. They have people who are observing your brainwaves. They have people who are observing what you see and what you think. So they have to transmit from probably like, I guess, I don't know, maybe like some type of secret, transmitter or whatever. I don't know how. I have no idea how those signals get transferred into the brain, and then the observers not see that they are creating these things in the minds of the TIs, but they transmit these thoughts into the mind of the TI, and then they, after they transmit the thoughts into the mind of the TI and it resonates, and the TI then actually thinks and sees what was transmitted, they then say, look, we told you he thinks this way. And that's how they do it. You don't have to you don't have to believe me. I'm posting all of these things. I'm posting all these things right online. The studies are right there. Of course, you're not going to see it in the weaponized view. You're not going to see it through that lens. They're only going to post. They're only publishing things that's going to be seen in a view of like, for like medical studies or whatever. You're not going to see, you know, we can do this to that person by transmitting. No, you're not going to see it that way. You're probably never going to see it that way. The closest I've ever got to maybe someone who is a tech CEO or whatever, talking about the possible negative aspect of what this will look like is CEO Steve Hoffman of Founder Space. And he was the very first one, between him and Dr. James Giordano. They are the only two people who have actually truly heard mention this technology in a weaponized state. Now, I've already accepted the idea that I do not have control over whether I live or die. I mean, like, I've been accepted that a long time ago. But I mean, now that I have a full-blown opposition of a populace of people who are willing to basically kill anyone just so that they can stay hooked onto the titty of AI. Yeah, I'm basically just trying to do everything I can to make sure the truth is heard, because you can't get freedom unless you're willing to sacrifice your life. You can't. Freedom is never won by people who are not willing to sacrifice their life. You know, slavery didn't end, if it wasn't for people who are willing to sacrifice their life. So many different other, whether human rights or civil rights, number of different humanitarian causes would not be if it wasn't for people willing to actually sacrifice their life and just go through it. That's the only way. That's the really freedom. Freedom is what you fight for. Freedom is never easy to obtain. So I'm thinking to myself, they're trying to tell me, oh, I'm wrong for trying to defend myself. They're like, all you had to do is become a police officer. It's like, no, that's not all I had to do. I don't have to do nothing. I don't have to do nothing. So because I don't want to become a police officer, that means I have to get cancer induced into me. I have to have tumors growing inside of me because I didn't want to become a police officer for the secret metaverse society, the augmented transhumanist society. I have to end up having illnesses and diseases induced into me through, you know, electromagnetic wave conversions or electromagnetic radiation being poured or flowed into my body. All because I didn't want to become a police officer. Now, they always tell myself, oh, but he was disrespectful to women. Oh, the majority of my life, I can probably tell you that maybe one, two women that'll probably say that, actually, no, I can't even say that. I can't. And I'm actually very, very humble and very apologetic too. Um, they call what the shadowers, the main shadowers who got me linked up on all this. They're calling me, well, an itch. I can't really say the boy's sitting on the other side of the door. I guess he's waiting for me to come out, but um, they're calling me an itch because I do not um I don't know. I'm not this like alpha male type. I'm not this, I'm not so drawn into the matrix of, materialism and lavishness and stuff like that. I kind of lost that aspect of myself since I was in my mid 20s. Because for some reason, I just always felt like, why it seemed like everybody is like selling themselves so short just so they can get this thing. And then eventually, they actually get tired of that thing. And then when I think about it, I'm like, yo, they probably work so hard to get this thing. And then after they get complacent and content with having this thing, it's almost like you didn't even really need it. You worked mad hard just to buy that thing. And then now it's just like, oh, that's the thing. So I realize people never really feel satisfied with life or whatever because they're buying into the matrix. They're buying into the whole idea of like, if if you work hard and you make a lot of money, you can basically buy all the happiness that you need in life. But why does it always seem like people who have a lot of money never really have true joy? Maybe it's because, well, they keep trying to think that if you have more money, then that's going to basically set it off for you. If you have more intelligence, that's going to set it off for you. Okay, I'm coming.
I need help.
All right. Let me go ahead, y'all. I just wanted to let y'all know that I think we're dealing with something completely different. I don't think we're on a terrorist watch list. We're dealing with a totally different realm. Like, yeah, I've been developing a habit of pulling my hair out, but it's not like it's like these like I don't know. I haven't really been combing my hair, so I got a lot of these like knots and stuff. But yeah, but I also think I'm also stressed too, so that's what makes me want to pull them out more instead of trying to go through the time and effort of just combing them out. But I'm thinking about actually cutting my hair. But anyway, yeah, I don't think that we're actually on a like federally known watch list because I think the metaverse, the augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverse or whatever, I think that's a completely different thing. I think that's a completely different thing. It's like Like we have laws and governance and checks and balances on this side. But in the virtual world, that's a whole totally different thing. It's decentralized. You know, it's not necessarily regulated. So that means anybody can do just about anything that they want. Just like how they uploaded our minds, just like how they uploaded our minds to the web without our consent, and then they started manipulating our bodies, our tissues, our nerves, manipulating so many aspects of our lives without our permission. But anyway, yeah, I think what it really is there's probably a totally different type of list on in the metaverse for people who have a moral compass. They're attacking people who have morals. They're attacking people who believe in a code of ethics. They're attacking people who exude or radiate high vibrational energy. They're attacking these types of people. Think about it like this. Why does it seem like all the people who are doing wrong in this world seem like they all just like get a pass? Or like, unless you're like slipping and unless the perpetrators like slipping and they were just like really sloppy with it, you know that's the only time that they really actually have anything done to them, as far as punishment, capital punishment, whatever the case may be. But other than that, yeah, it seems like people are just being given a pass while people like me or, a 7-year-old boy, they're being attacked in ways for reasons that has no precedent. There is no valid reason for these things to be done to certain people. Like there is no valid reason. I mean, honestly, I don't even think somebody who is, probably mentally disabled, mentally ill, and they have violent tendencies. I don't even think they deserve this type of treatment, because this is inhumane on so many ways. But you know what? They're going to keep at it with stating that it's not inhumane. Why? Because technically what they're doing is they're not attacking you. They're attacking the digital twin version of you that's in the metaverse. They're attacking a copy of you that then transmits whatever is happening to that digital version of yourself in the metaverse. Those signals those signals get transmitted, and then they resonate with your brain, or they get picked up by your brain. The brain decodes it, and then next thing you know, you feel the energy transmitting to the exact spot or the exact, tissue or whatever that they were hitting in the metaverse. And then now it's actually happening to your physical body. Why? Because these quantum computers already have our DNA locked into their systems. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna keep on working on it. That's all I got for now. So, yeah, take life one breath, one thought, one step, one day at a time. Peace.